Since the massive systemization a few years ago, the navigation in the city changed radically. With the river completely covered, we never run the risk of floods or overflowing. The secondary water sources are now contained in the water reservoirs, those giant tin cans, by the Fringe. Extreme order reigns now over the city. Nature obeys to humans' will. Chaos is eradicated. Water used as decoration in the public spaces is now only allowed in precast concrete basins. Thus, the parks look ordered, safe, and consistent. The northern lake is itself placed in a huge concrete bed, and the dam development completely transformed all the former slums in the west part of town. Total design prevailed, and water is finally just a totally controllable resource. A narrow, dark corridor opened to bright gardens of lush vegetation. Metal amulets were hanging from the trees, dangling softly in the wind breeze. He walked down the spreading paths amid the rain of sunlight falling from the blooming trees. Reaching a fork, he picked one of the paths. The two nurses, wearing their vaporous gowns, followed. The marble flagstones of the pathway had a shimmering golden lining. He continued to walk, followed by the nurses, as the path was leading him to the heart of the forest. Between the hollow trees, hexagonal white marble blocks looked like gathering tables for the exquisite presences of the forest. He kept on walking, and finally he arrived. There he was, staring at the golden-plated hexagonal basin. The crystal-clear mirror of water spreading the scent of lilies stared back at him. He gathered his thoughts in the center of his being and let his body slowly sink, perfectly aware that he shall emerge ever more radiant and completely cured. In our city, new edifices were built with blocks from what used to be the concrete riverbed. A very long time ago, a big river was running right at the heart of our city, splitting it in half and even making a few islands. Back then, people used boats to sail up and down the river. These are very useful to us still, as we can reuse the valuable wood for construction, engines to generate power, and even the interior fittings come handy. As the river started to grow thinner and thinner, many people feared. Some fled away, some initiated plans to combat the drought. Some took advantage of the newly liberated land right at the heart of the city. But I stayed and looked for ways to get by. Where the concrete of the riverbed remained, we used to play as children, sliding down the slopes or organizing running competitions. Now the city is growing denser in this area, and the former bridges get dismantled to make way to high-rise buildings for the offices of the Water Aid Agency. When water is scarce, we have to turn to other resources in hope of finding abundance. At first, it came with great strength, and then it never retreated. It was coming from everywhere, the earth and the sky. When we saw it coming, we never expected to surrender. Now it covers everything up in stillness and quietude. It meets no resistance. It fed upon the earth's solidity until resignation became a state of being. Matter disintegrates slowly, turning tall edifices into underworldly, distorted structures. Sound ceases to exist. Our vision became blurry, our smell reduced to detecting only the dampness of the molecules. Wetness contaminates everything. It rips it to the core. The bricks, the trees, the wooden stairs, the marble floors, the rough pavement, the once glowing windows, the plastered buildings, dissolve slowly, embracing the sudden afterlife they were never prepared for. We immerse into the vast liquidity. We wait for our skin to grow scales. Water transforms everything. Peaceful habitation with water brought balance to our society. The proximity of the water nurtures the land, which nurtures us in return. I was fortunate to grow up in the second generation after the extended water law was passed, so I witnessed our societal recovery. This inspired me to become a water guardian. I now work in the systemic architecture department, where I am involved in the implementation of microsymbiotic infrastructure that optimizes water temperature for all the aquatic animals and plants. In time, the climate will readjust itself with our aid, and this technology will become futile, allowing us to explore other strategies. My underwater lab is where I feel inspired, connected with nature and humanity, water and earth at the same time. The thin crystal glass layer does not stand for intrusion, but for a symbolic cohabitation of water and air. To me, water is equilibrium and equity. Water is our equal.